From the second he took his first breath, this kid was royalty. His dad, the first awakened, the guy who literally invented wielding divine power. Min Jae-hyun was born with stats off the charts, a 97% magic compatibility score. But he threw it all away to walk the martial path instead. Back then, mages were treated like total outcasts. Big mistake. Now, as a washed-up brawler, all he could do was watch those same mages flex on primetime TV. Everyone knows your stats. Cap out at age 20. Game over. No respecs. His only gig now, acting as a meat shield for raid teams. Any ego he had as a martial fighter got stomped out years ago. The only thing keeping him going was the lottery ticket chance of snagging dungeon loot. Sure, you might die in a heartbeat, but for D-listers, it's the only way to eat. Suddenly the guard barked out orders, shattering his thoughts. 30 minutes to drop. Lock in. Before every run, Jae-hyun had a ritual. He'd pull out his phone and stare at an old pic of him and his mom. Once you step inside that gate, tomorrow isn't promised. But honestly, this run looked like a cakewalk. Just brainless zombies with zero skills. All Jae-hyun had to do was turtle up behind his shield while the DPS mages nuked everything with flashy spells. The mobs were getting deleted. This was the Meteor Guild, new money, big hype. Looking at the smooth run, Jae-hyun figured he'd actually survive this one. With only the boss left, he took a breather to check his loot inventory. That's when the interface bugged out. Hard. A splitting headache hit him right before the unthinkable happened. The Aesir system, the bedrock of human survival, crashed completely. Through the haze, a voice whispered, "Follow the light." Red warning windows popped up everywhere, system compromised by an unknown entity. Jae-hyun couldn't shake the creepy feeling that the thing hacking the system was the same voice inside his head. He spun around to see glowing motes of light drifting from thin air. Weirdly, the rest of the squad didn't seem to notice a thing. It was like a personal HUD just for him. Jae-hyun decided to trust it. He tried rebooting the Aesir interface while he followed the trail, but got nothing. Dead air. This had never happened in 17 years, ever since that monstrosity rose from the Pacific. Yggdrasil, the world tree. It shot up overnight and choked out the sky in less than 9 days. That tree wasn't just scenery, it was the end of the world. On day 9, the Hellgates opened. Monsters flooded the earth, half of humanity gone. The rest started dropping from starvation and plague. Then came the Aesir system, gifting divine powers and creating the Awakened. It saved civilization, and now that lifeline was severed. With the world's operating system offline, the mystery voice guided Jae-hyun to a dead end. Standing there was an ancient, weathered gate. His heart skipped a beat. Could this be the legendary treasure gate rumor had it? These only spawned in high-tier dungeons guarding loot beyond imagination. This was it, his one shot to flip his life around. Nerves frying, he shoved the heavy doors open. But he didn't find mountains of gold, like the stories promised. The room was empty except for a single lonely orb floating in the center. But Jae-hyun wasn't walking away empty-handed. He snatched the orb without hesitation. Instantly, the Aesir system rebooted online. The item description floored him, mythical grade. Odin's lost eye. It didn't just break magic constructs. It could copy any skill in existence. A literal cheat code. Even the best gear on the market was only S rank. This thing was a retirement fund. He considered keeping it sure. But what's the point? He's over 20. His growth is hard capped. Using it would be a waste. Decision made, cash out, and leave. He rejoined the group, burying his bitterness under a mask. He had to play it cool. If they knew what he was holding, they'd kill him for it. Luckily, his poker face held up. Now he just needed to make sure no one got suspicious about his little disappearance. But right before the boss fight, chaos erupted. Boulders smashed through the cavern ceiling, crushing the team formation. Immediately, a toxic purple fog flooded the chamber. The glass cannon mages dropped instantly, choking on the fumes. Jae-hyun opened his mouth to scream. A warning, but he froze as a blade punched through the chest of the guy in front of him. In a split second, he realized there were hunters hiding in the mist. Jae-hyun didn't hesitate. He turned and sprinted. No way was he dying right after scoring a mythical item. Crack. A lightning bolt scorched the ground, detonating the path ahead and cutting him off. Jae-hyun panicked. Who the hell was attacking? A silhouette stepped out of the shadow. Knew you'd make it, Hyung. Jae-hyun's blood ran cold. It was young Yeoman. This didn't make sense. Yeoman was his agent, the guy who tossed him scraps and hooked him up with gigs like this one. Yeoman smirked. Told you I'd drop by today, didn't I? That's when it clicked. The ambush, the chaos, the man standing there, was the architect of this slaughter. Jae-hyun glared. You set this up. The poison. The Meteor Guild hit. Yeoman shrugged calmly. Guilty. Client orders. People hate Meteor's arrogance. Making enemies was inevitable for them. Knowing he was outclassed, Jae-hyun backed off. Fine. Yeoman, I saw nothing. He turned to leave, but another lightning whip cracked the air. Yeoman's grin twisted into something ugly. Hyung, you really think the guild was the only target? The realization hit like a truck. His agent was an assassin sent for him, and a D-rank tank doesn't beat an A-rank mage, ever. If Jae-hyun had blinked, he'd be ash. But Yeoman wasn't playing around. 3 more bolts shrieked toward him. Adrenaline spiked. Jae-hyun barely danced past the strikes. Who wants him dead this bad? Then a chilling face flashed in his mind. His voice dropped to a growl. Was it my father? At those words, Yeoman froze. He completely ghosted Min Jae-hyun, who was standing right there, weapon ready. Jung Yumin's body spasmed violently before he threw his head back in a manic wheezing laugh. Your gut instincts, they're terrifyingly sharp. Hyung, honestly, that's exactly why I adore you. That twisted cackle instantly flashed an image of his mother's photo into Min Jae-hyun's mind. His voice dropped an octave heavy with dread. One final question. 5 winters ago, did he hand you this exact same dirty work? Jung Yumin looked genuinely floored. I can't believe you connected those dots too. You're actually kind of impressive. Though I really don't get it. What kind of father slaughters his wife first, then turns around and puts a hit out on his own son, Jung Yumin? Even you have to admit that crosses a line. But we're past the point of no return. Goodbye, Hyung. Right at death's door. Min Jae-hyun triggered Odin's lost eye. A supernova of blinding light erupted, drowning Jung Yumin's vision in white. He could feel it. Min Jae-hyun's magical energy wasn't just rising, it was spiking off the charts. Refusing to let this go sideways, Jung Yumin decided to take the gloves off. No holding back. The chain of lightning tore through the air, rocketing toward Min Jae-hyun at Mach speed. Millimeters before impact, the lightning sizzled and vanished into thin air. Jung Yumin froze, eyes wide, brain unable to compute. That's when he clocked it. Min Jae-hyun had just equipped Odin's lost eye. He'd burned a blank card and successfully copy-pasted the lightning chain skill. Min Jae-hyun's voice was ice cold. Jung Yumin, I'm going to make your death the most excruciating experience possible. As the threat landed, 6 full-blown chains of lightning materialized behind him like a halo of doom. Jung Yumin stared paralyzed. That was his signature move, a skill he'd grinded years to master. Now effortlessly hijacked and controlled by a D-rank martial-type awakener. It didn't make sense. In a head-to-head clash, Min Jae-hyun was absolutely bodying Jung Yumin, an A-rank magic type. Every single bolt Jung Yumin fired was dismantled in real time by Min Jae-hyun's absolute calculation. But Jung Yumin, he was a sitting duck. He couldn't dodge the relentless barrage of lightning Min Jae-hyun was unleashing. His only play was spamming magical barriers just to stay alive. That's when Min Jae-hyun triggered absolute calculation again. Snap. The magic shield shattered. Jung Yumin was defenseless, eating the raw voltage of the lightning chains. After putting Jung Yumin in the ground, Min Jae-hyun collapsed. The tank was empty, stamina gone, mana depleted. That mythical grade item he'd just snagged looked like it was going to be a loot drop that rotted right next to his corpse. But then right at the buzzer, a brand new operating system finished installing. A chance to rewind the clock. With 0 options left, Min Jae-hyun accepted the system's execution command. The Nornir system officially went online. As the world faded to black, Min Jae-hyun thought he saw seraphic figures, angels. Their voices chanted in an ancient alien tongue. Slowly, they extended their hands. Without a second thought, Min Jae-hyun reached into the void and grabbed an angel's hand. Ping. The Nornir system notified him. He was now public enemy number 1 of the Aesir race. Bonus rewards, 2 passive skills, Divine Gaze and Absolute Eye. When Min Jae-hyun's eyes snapped open, he was back in a room that screamed nostalgia. He bolted upright, heart hammering, scanning the area, and then he froze. There it was, the photo of him and his mom on the desk. For a split second, he wondered if this was the afterlife or just a dream. But honestly, even if this was a hallucination fired by a dying brain, he'd stay here forever. Because here, his mother, who was long gone in reality, was still breathing, checking his status. His physical condition was nerfed, sitting at only 20%. First quest from the Nornir system grind, stamina back up to 80%. Reward a blank card. But right now, Min Jae-hyun had to figure out exactly when in the timeline he was. He grabbed the calendar, and a grin split his face. He was back, the day before college applications were due. This time, no rookie mistakes, no regrets. Later, at the dinner table, the emotional dam finally broke. Min Jae-hyun couldn't stop the tears. Scenes that had replayed in his nightmares were now living, breathing reality right in front of him. His mom, noticing the breakdown, started panicking. Her usually quiet kid was sobbing into his rice bowl. As she was heading out, she couldn't just leave it alone. Min Jae-hyun, baby, is something wrong? He wiped his face and forced a smile. No, just a really bad nightmare. The kind I never want to see again. Actually, Mom, I need to tell you something. I'm switching tracks. I want to major in magic. His mother stood there stunned. He'd been dead set on the martial path his whole life. But looking at his face, she knew this wasn't a whim. She smiled gently. Do what makes you happy. Money matters, sure. But what matters to me is that you live a life you actually want. Mage, warrior, whatever, I've got your back, always. Min Jae-hyun knew the pity party had to end. He had a job to do, serve some ice-cold payback to his father, that A-rank scumbag. To get strong enough, he had to speed run the Nornir system's missions. Quest complete. Another blank card secured. His edge right now wasn't stats, it was info. He knew where every hidden stage and secret manual was buried, but his skill set was still purely martial, so he pulled up the HUD. Level 7. Attributes reset to baseline. But wait a glitch. Why weren't his passives reset? Thanks to Divine Gaze, his pre-reincarnation cheat skills had carried over to the new save file. Plus, every level up now granted a +1 to all base stats. As for Absolute Eye, still a mystery. For now, he had to dump his available stat points. For mages, mana is the flashy stat, but stamina, that's the engine. It doesn't boost damage, but it keeps you in the fight when everyone else is gasping for air. The million-dollar question. What skill to learn first? The most OP offensive magic is trash if you don't have the mana tank to cast it. Looking at the meta, the smartest play was a healing skill. Right now, mages were bottom of the food chain, treated like dirt compared to martial types. But healers, that was the VIP ticket. They were treated like royalty, courted by every top-tier raid team in the business. If he mastered a healing skill, nobody would dare look down on him. The only snag. Where the hell does he find a healer to copy this early in the game? Buzz. His phone lit up. Who's calling at this hour? He checked the ID and froze. It was his day one homie, Kim Yoo-jung. They grew up together, hit Miran Academy together, chased the Raider dream together. And in the original timeline, she had bled out in his arms. But this is New Game Plus. He could save her. She was calling to ask him to tag along to see the Saintess. Perfect timing. The Saintess was the GOAT of healers. Her signature move, Sacrifice, was legendary. If he could copy that, he wouldn't need to hunt down any other healers. Min Jae-hyun said a quick goodbye to his mom and headed out. Meanwhile, Yoo Sung-eun was chilling in the back of a Rolls-Royce, heading to the venue. Her manager, Park Sung-jae, was in her ear, begging her to chill with the public cameos. After all, the skill Sacrifice wasn't just consuming mana, it was incinerating Yoo So-yeon's actual lifespan. Every public appearance was a gamble with death. If she didn't find a substitute user for Sacrifice fast, she was going to burn out completely. The auditorium was packed, buzzing with anticipation until the woman of the hour stepped onto the stage. Greetings, I am Yoo So-hyun. As you all know, humanity is staring down the barrel of an apocalypse. Since the World Tree, Yggdrasil sprouted and unleashed the monster wave, the death toll has been catastrophic. Right now, less than 20% of Awakeners are stepping up as raiders, while the casualty rate continues to skyrocket. We are teetering on the edge of extinction with millions of innocent lives hanging in the balance. We need heroes. To all the Awakeners watching, your bravery is the only thing standing between us and total darkness. The Lotus Guild pledges to back you with everything we have. As the applause thundered, Min Jae-hyun slipped away from Kim Yoo-jung. He had a target to acquire. He needed to intercept Yoo So-hyun before she vanished. Spotting her sleek limousine, Jae-hyun made his move, walking straight up to the security detail. I need a word with Chairwoman Yoo. Park Seong-ji sized him up, dismissing him as just another obsessive fanboy. He was about to tell the kid to get lost when Jae-hyun dropped the bomb. I'm not looking for an autograph. I know the chairwoman is dying from an incurable curse, and I'm the only person on Earth who can fix her. In a flash, Seong-ji had Jae-hyun by the collar, slamming him back. Who talked? How do you know that? Suddenly, the tinted rear window rolled down. So-hyun's voice was icy but intrigued. That's a bold claim. Can you back it up? Jae-hyun didn't blink. Absolutely. I can save your life, chairwoman. Intrigued by his unwavering eye contact, So-hyun made a snap decision. Get in. Too many eyes out here. Let's take this somewhere private. Moments later, they were seated in a soundproof conference room at Lotus HQ. Seo-hyun cut to the chase. Who leaked my medical records? Jae-hyun leaned back. Trade secret. I could tell you, but then I'd have to walk away without treating you. So-hyun let out a sharp laugh. Smart kid. Okay, fine. Let's hear your plan. How exactly do you save a dying woman? Jae-hyun stated plainly. I'm going to copy your sacrifice skill. The room went dead silent. Then Song-ji exploded. Are you insane? Do you even understand the mechanics of that skill? Sacrifice is a bloodline-exclusive ability ranked beyond S tier. It's genetically impossible to copy. Jae-hyun didn't flinch. Calm down. I wouldn't be wasting your time if I wasn't sure. So-hyun stared him down, analyzing every micro-expression. You really think you can wield my power? Prove it. Without warning, she flared her aura, activating sacrifice right then and there. Jae-hyun instantly triggered his blank card ability. Since you need a demo, watch this. He mirrored her energy signature and cast sacrifice on himself. Since he utilized the blank card to proxy the skill, the life-draining backlash didn't touch him. Seo-hyun and her bodyguard stood there, jaws on the floor. The impossible had just happened. There, Jae-hyun said, brushing off his shoulder. Now let's talk business. So-hyun regained her composure. What's your price? He held the cure to her mortality. He could have asked for half the city. Instead, Jae-hyun looked her in the eye. I want a sponsorship. So-hyun tapped her chin. You have the talent to back up that audacity. I'm interested, but I have a counteroffer. My health is my personal problem, not the guild's. But you're asking for the full weight of the Lotus Guild behind you. We don't just hand that out to freelancers. If you want our resources, you join the roster. Jae-hyun paused. He expected a fight, not a recruitment pitch. So-hyun continued, her eyes gleaming. I don't joke about talent. Here is why you need to be one of us. First, your intel network. You knew my deepest secret. That kind of information gathering is terrifyingly efficient. Second, you did the impossible. You copied a bloodline skill. That breaks every known rule of awakening. Your potential isn't just high, it's infinite. And third, you're a high schooler standing in front of the Lotus chairwoman without breaking a sweat. That kind of mental fortitude, you can't teach that. So, are you in Jaehyun's mind raced back to his previous timeline? The Lotus Guild was a titan that crumbled overnight, because its leader died prematurely. But if he saved her, the guild would remain a powerhouse. And as a member, he'd have access to elite gear and dungeons. It was a no-brainer. But there was a technicality. I'm still a minor, he pointed out. Isn't a guild contract illegal for a student? So-hyun smirked. Ever heard of the right of first negotiation? We can lock you in early. Give me your address. I'll send the paperwork. Read it over. Jae-hyun stood up, rolling his shoulders. Deal. Now let's fix you. He moved behind her chair. Songji watched, his heart hammering against his ribs. They had seen the world's best doctors, healers, and shamans. All had failed. Now everything hinged on this kid. Suddenly a warm light enveloped So-hyun, and color rushed back into her pale cheeks. Seongji immediately bowed at a 90-degree angle. I apologize for my disrespect earlier. Thank you for saving her. Jae-hyun waved a hand. Don't sweat it. I would have tackled me too. As the glow faded, a system notification popped up. Emergency healing has reached level 19. Seo-hyun walked to the window, inspecting her hands. The constant draining fatigue was gone. She felt alive. A single tear traced her cheek. The pain. It's actually gone. Thank you. But what about the backlash? Are you hurt? Jae-hyun grinned, fresh as a daisy. If you ever feel sick again, just call me. Seo-hyun nodded firmly. You have my word. The guild is at your disposal. She handed him a sleek black card. Consider your conditions met. Think about the contract. Jae-hyun took the card, his expression turning serious. Actually, chairwoman, I have a favor to ask right now. The next morning, a black sedan rolled up to curb. Park Seong-ji was playing chauffeur. Jae-hyun needed to power level. He had requested access to the Lotus Guild's private low-level dungeons. Millen Academy was a shark tank filled with geniuses. If he wanted to survive the semester, he needed to grind. Lotus had stocked the trunk with supplies, but time was against him. For now, they could only scrape together some leftover guild gear. Honestly, Park Seong-ji was still sweating bullets about letting Min Jae-hyun fly solo. Even an E-rank dungeon is a death trap for a lone wolf, but Min Jae-hyun just shrugged it off. Relax, I'm just grinding some levels, with zero other options. Park Seong-ji pulled up his interface. He materialized a teleport stone, his face grim. Take this, it's your escape ticket. Crush it, and you warp back to the entrance. Instantly. If things go south, don't hesitate. Please take it. Consider it my apology for yesterday's mess. And, well, a thank you. For saving the chairwoman. Put like that, Min Jae-hyun couldn't exactly say no. He took the stone. Stepping up to the gate, he felt mana surging. Out like an open vein. Just by the vibe, yeah, definitely E-rank. A dungeon this week. A total walk in the park. Behind him, Park Song-ji shouted one last warning. Remember, if it gets dangerous, use the stone. But the second Min Jae-hyun crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted. The mana in the air wasn't just flowing, it was screaming. Suddenly, spectral claws materialized from the mist, locking him in place. Before his brain could even process the ambush, a system alert blared. Interference from the Niflheim system detected. User is being forcibly relocated. Blink and Min Jae-hyun was dropped straight into Helheim, the realm of the dead. Meanwhile, back at the Lotus Guild HQ, Yu So-in was pacing. The idea of Min Jae-hyun soloing a dungeon was eating at her. An E-rank is suicide for a pre-raider, and the kid hadn't even fully developed yet. Still remembering the power he flashed earlier gave her a little hope. Just then, her secretary Park Hana walked in, handing over a file. Here is everything on Min Jae-hyun. Yu So-in flipped open the dossier, scanning the lines. Suddenly she froze. A guy wielding magic that terrifying. Listed martial arts as his major. She stared at the paper, mind racing. Was this a typo? Because Min Jae-hyun's magic aptitude score sat at a staggering 97%. She grabbed her phone, dialing Park Song-ji immediately. If Min Jae-hyun makes it out alive, send him to me. Now. I need to see exactly what this kid is made of. Back in the nightmare, thanks to the Niflheim system glitch, Min Jae-hyun stood in the dead center of Helheim. One look around told him the bad news. This definitely wasn't an E-rank dungeon anymore. As he scanned the gloom, a figure cloaked in shadow raised a bow from the fog. Snap! A void-tipped arrow shrieked toward his face. Instinct took over. He twisted his neck, the shaft barely missing his skin. He whipped around toward the source. The archer in black was already calm, cool, and collected, drawing a second arrow. The bow rose again, deadlocked on Min Jae-hyun's heart. Before the string could snap, Min Jae-hyun popped Sacrifice, forcefully healing his wounds. Boom! A rotting hand burst from the earth, grabbing him. Simultaneously, a ghost manifested right behind him, silent as the grave. In a split second, 3 distinct breeds of monsters had him boxed in. And right on cue, the black-robed archer let the arrow fly. This time, Min Jae-hyun didn't dodge. He calmly drew his blade. But let's be real, clearing this mob wasn't going to be a walk in the park. Sacrifice hits undead like a truck, but it drains mana like crazy. If bigger bads show up later, he's toast. He had to pivot. Time to rely on the muscle memory from his past life as a martial artist. His mage skills were still rookie tier, so these creeps were just going to be live combat dummies. Maybe it was the level gap, but Min Jae-hyun realized these monsters weren't exactly terrifying. Even with his current stats, he could dance circles around them. Gripping his staff like a bat, he lunged. With a brutal swing, he cracked the black-robed archer right in the skull. One hit, but that impact shattered his weapon into splinters. Perfect timing, the scythe, ghost, and the ghoul swordsman rushed him at once. Out of options, Min Jae-hyun triggered Sacrifice again. A burst of holy light erupted. Instant disintegration. Both monsters were reduced to piles of ash. The massive mana cost dropped him to his knees. If he hadn't leveled up right that second, it would have been game over. He knew. He was way too weak to clear this dungeon. He prepared to warp out. But suddenly a primal dread washed over him, freezing his blood. Min Jae-hyun felt it. Something was coming. The pressure was so heavy, it felt like gravity had doubled. He jammed the broken staff into his thigh, using the pain to stay conscious. A shadow stretched across the ground. Min Jae-hyun spun around. And there it was. The boss. Demon King Nightshade. System alert. Level disparity is catastrophic. Critical danger mode engaged. Evacuate immediately. Min Jae-hyun knew the math. Fighting this thing head-on was suicide. He ripped the teleport stone from his inventory. But the second it materialized, the Demon King's aura slammed into him, pinning him like an insect. Nightshade attacked. Min Jae-hyun was launched backward, body broken. HP plummeting into the red zone. Against absolute power, he didn't even have a split second to crush the stone. He closed his eyes, waiting for the end. But when he opened them, the world had paused. Time itself was frozen. A voice echoed from nowhere. "No, you can't die yet." A woman stepped out of the void. She spoke casually. "I brought this kid here myself. He's a VIP destined to be a rebel." Min Jae-hyun stared, mind reeling. Who was she? She looked him up and down like she was inspecting produce. So, this is the guy who took out the others. Just a total noob. Average bones. Nothing special. Decent mana tank, sure, but fighting gods, please. He's not even close. She couldn't wrap her head around. Why Loki would bet on a kid like this? Meanwhile, blood loss was making Min Jae-hyun's vision swim. But the rage kept him awake. Revenge wasn't finished. He refused to die here. Seeing that fire in his gaze, she nodded. "I do like that look in your eyes. But let's be real, you're weak and the clock is ticking. You need to level up, fast. If you're not ready before hell descends again, I'll delete you myself. You're important to the plan, so I'm giving you one shot. Don't waste it. Get stronger. Then come back and crush the Demon King Nightshade. Pull that off, and I've got a sweet reward waiting for you. You have 2 months. Fail. And you know exactly what happens." Just like that, Min Jae-hyun was drafted into Hell's boot camp. Her final words were ice cold. "Show me some growth or else. I will personally escort you to hell. Good luck, little Nornir's chosen." When Min Jae-hyun blinked, his eyes open, the dungeon's ceiling stared back at him. He was back at the entrance, and every single scratch on his body had vanished into thin air. But the glowing quest log from the Nornir system hovering in his vision proved he wasn't hallucinating. That nightmare was real. The woman he just faced was Hell herself, the goddess of death and ruler of the 9 worlds. Her cryptic warning was still bouncing around his skull, but the message was loud and clear: get strong or get wrecked. If Hell wasn't bluffing, the second he stopped leveling up, he'd be deleted from existence. His mission, take down the Demon King Nightshade within 2 months. At his current power level, that was a straight-up suicide mission. He didn't even know the basics of combat magic yet. To survive, he needed a solid foundation. His best play was to align himself with the Lotus Guild and their powerhouse, Yu Sung-un. Talk about timing. Park Sung-jae was already one step ahead, locking in a meeting with the guildmaster for the very next day. By the time the sun rose, Park was already escorting Min straight to Lotus HQ. Min had a gut feeling they'd already peaked at his awakening report. Even though his stats showed god-tier magic affinity, he had wasted his potential on the martial path. Why? Because the media wouldn't shut up about how cool melee fighters were while trashing mages as useless support. He'd fallen for the hype, plain and simple. Moments later, they stepped onto the Lotus training grounds. The second Min locked eyes with Yu Sung-un, his breath hitched. She flashed a professional smile. "You're finally here. I've been waiting. Have you looked over the contract? I think you'll find the terms generous." Generous was an understatement. The paperwork Yu slid across the table was insanely heavily weighted in Min's favor. "We're talking perks that would make veteran A-rank raiders jealous." Min didn't waste a second. "I already told Manager Park I have one condition before I sign." Yu Sung-un didn't even blink. Her smile remained cool and collected. "I'm listening." "What do you need?" Min leaned in. "You've seen my file. You know I only switched from martial arts to magic less than a month ago. I'm a rookie. I have no idea how to fight like a real mage yet. So Chairwoman Yu, I want you to be my personal mentor." This was bold, asking one of the world's few S-rank raiders to play tutor. Park Sung-jae looked like he was about to have a heart attack at the audacity. Min kept his gaze steady. "If you can't agree to that, I'll take my talents elsewhere." Yu Sung-un let out a soft chuckle. "Spicy. I like it. I accept your condition. You're definitely interesting enough to be worth my time. But first, we need a vibe check. You don't mind demonstrating what you can do, right?" Min had called this. Even with a golden contract, the Lotus Guild wasn't going to sign him without seeing him sweat. One look at Yu's face, and Park knew exactly what kind of hell was about to break loose. Snap. With a casual flick of Yu's fingers, a terrifying wave of mana exploded behind her. "Behold the mana cube," she announced. "Your job is simple, beat it." The mana cube wasn't a toy. It was a torture device used to test B-rank magic users, and even then, 93% of them failed. Yu eyed Min with amusement. "Perfect stage to flex your true power, don't you think? If you want priority status at Lotus, this is the bar you have to clear." Min kept his cool. "Trying to humble me before I even start." Yu's smile didn't waver. "Not at all. Even if you wipe out inside, I'll still sign you. I guarantee it on my name as chairwoman." She turned to her assistant. "Sungjae, fire it up." Park hesitated, sweating bullets. "Chairwoman, this thing eats experienced mages for breakfast." "Mr. Min is still green." Yu cut him off effortlessly. "Do you really think that kid is ordinary? Relax. He's built for this." Reluctantly, Park hit the switch, activating the cube. Min had heard rumors about this thing in his past life, but seeing the beast up close was a different story. Yu's voice broke his trance. "Whenever you're ready. Impress me." With the eyes of an S-rank titan on him, Min stepped into the swirling vortex. Park muttered, "I've got a bad feeling about this." "I get that you're curious, boss, but he's just a kid," Yu replied instantly. "Trust the process. He'll clear it." Park looked baffled. "What makes you so sure?" Yu smirked. "Call it a woman's intuition." She didn't look away from the cube. "Let's see how long he survives." Inside the cube, a death trap with a 7% survival rate was an infinite ocean of condensed, crushing mana. Mana fuels magic, sure, but swimming in this density, it was like breathing pure radiation. Too long in here, and your organs would liquefy. There was only one way out: find the single exit node, hidden somewhere in this chaotic storm of energy. Min forced his heart rate down. He closed his eyes, sensing the flow, filtering out the noise. Suddenly, a pulse caught his attention. Deep in a vortex ahead, something felt different. He pushed closer and spotted a crystal pulsing with the core energy of the entire dimension. Back in reality, Park watched the timer. "You seem pretty confident he's not going to die." "What's the over-under on his time?" Yu checked her watch. "My personal best was 40 minutes. That's still the national record." Park realized the stakes. Min was either going to get trapped in that box forever, or he was going to make history. Yu nodded. "He won't come out crawling." But a second later, her composure cracked. "Sungjae, look at the cube." Park whipped his head around. The mana cube wasn't just humming, it was glitching. Cracks were forming on the surface structure. Outside, the duo stood frozen. It had only been 10 minutes since Min walked in. What kind of monster was he fighting in there? Meanwhile, Min stared at the crystal. His gut screamed that this wasn't just a part of the test. It was the test. He didn't overthink it. He reached out and crushed the crystal in his fist. Boom! The entire mana ocean evaporated instantly. A system notification pinged new passive acquired Essence of Mana Mastery. Outside the scene was absolute chaos. The mana cube usually took pros 3 hours to solve. S-rank Yu Sung-un needed 40 minutes. The world record holder, Camilla, 36 minutes. And Min Jae-hyun just walked out like he owned the place. He didn't just break the record, he obliterated it by 26 minutes. Park rushed over, grabbing Min's arm. "Insane. 10 minutes. How is that even possible?" Yu stepped in, dead serious. "Mr. Min, how exactly did you speedrun my test?" Min shrugged casually, dusting himself off. "Saw a shiny crystal. Broke it. Then I woke up here." Yu Seon-un grabbed his hand, practically vibrating with adrenaline. "Wait, you shattered it. You actually dusted the crystal. That thing held the entire Mana Cube's energy reserve. Your average awakener couldn't even pinpoint the core, let alone crush it." The implication was terrifying. The raw mana surging through Min Jae-hyun was more volatile than the crystal itself. A dazzling smile broke across her face. Mr. Min Jae-hyun, you passed. As of right now, I'm pushing all my chips to the center of the table. The Lotus Guild's future. And my own reputation. It's all riding on making you the world's strongest mage. You ready? Cut to the street. Outside. Kim Yoo-jung stood waiting with Jae-hyun's mom. A sleek Rolls-Royce glided to the curb purring like a beast. The door swung open and Min Jae-hyun stepped out. For a heartbeat, time stopped. Neither woman could process the visual. Was that Jae-hyun? Did he get picked up by a sugar mommy? Given his recent weird behavior, Yoo-jung's suspicion meter instantly redlined. First, the mysterious luxury ride, now ditching his martial arts training after years of grinding. Jae-hyun claimed he wasn't suited for combat anymore, but Yoo-jung knew him better than anyone. She wasn't buying it. He'd chosen the martial path specifically to protect his mother from suffering. You don't just walk away from that. Jae-hyun cut through her spiraling thoughts. Enough. Drop it. Why are you at my place anyway? Parents on another business trip. Bingo, she replied. That's why I'm crashing with you. Mom said I could stay the night before they fly out. Standard procedure for a certified rich kid. Her parents were global arms dealers for magical gear, constantly jet-setting. That left Yoo-jung in a massive, empty house. Since Jae-hyun's mom and her parents were tight, his place was basically her second home. Jae-hyun saw an opening. Since you're crashing here, make yourself useful. Teach me some basic magic theory. Yoo-jung scoffed. Excuse me, you want private tutoring for free? Jae-hyun countered smoothly. Name your price. I'll see if I can afford it. She paused, tapping her chin. Actually, I got nothing right now. How about an IOU? One wish. Anything I want and you have to make it happen. Fine, Jae-hyun agreed. But there's a 1-year expiration date. Use it or lose it. Yoo-jung pouted. Cheapskate. But deal. Jae-hyun relaxed. He knew her attention span. Give it a year, and she'd forget this conversation ever happened. Seeing the smug smirk on his face, Yoo-jung snatched a pillow and launched it at his head. Old Jae-hyun would have dodged or returned fire. But after the hell he'd survived, this simple domestic moment felt grounded, precious. Meanwhile, a high-level raider stood amidst a slaughter. Monster carcasses were stacked like cordwood. This was Min Sung-woo, Jae-hyun's father. A teammate walked up awestruck. We cleared that boss like it was nothing thanks to you. Smoothest run in years. Listen, if you joined the Scarlet Guild, we'd be unstoppable. We'd give you the VIP treatment. Name your terms. Suddenly, the air turned heavy. A suffocating pressure radiated from Min Sung-woo. He turned slowly, eyes dead and void. The recruiter froze, bound by invisible crushing chains. Sung-woo's voice was ice, filthy, shameless, reeking of greed. I suppose that is human nature. Or perhaps, not just human. Sung-woo vanished into thin air. The recruiter blinked, memories of the encounter wiped clean. Cut to Lotus Guild HQ. Day 1. Yoo Seon-eun wasn't wasting time on theory. She wanted to test his combat instincts. The method. Full contact sparring against her. Jae-hyun broke into a cold sweat. Real combat already. Isn't that a bit extreme? Seon-eun smirked. Rich coming from the guy who speed-ran the cube in 10 minutes. Less talking, more fighting. Come at me. Jae-hyun fell silent, dropping into a stance. Seon-eun recognized it immediately. Textbook martial artist. He lunged, throwing a heavy straight punch. Thwack. She caught it one-handed. Zero effort. Jae-hyun froze. He expected resistance, not a brick wall. He forgot who he was dealing with. She wasn't just a guildmaster. He scrambled back, creating distance. Seon-eun sighed. You're missing the point. You aren't a brawler anymore. What's the fundamental difference between a martial artist and a mage? Jae-hyun answered. Martial artists fight in the pocket. Mages fight from the perimeter. Exactly. She nodded. Mages kite. We weaken enemies from a distance, control the battlefield. It's the meta for a reason. But you're trying to face tank. With a mage's defense stats, that's a suicide run. You lack mage intuition. So. Her eyes glinted. I'm going on the offensive. Don't worry, I'm a healer. I can fix whatever I break. Show me what you can actually do. She didn't wait for a signal. An attack spell ripped through the air toward him. Pure instinct saved him. He barely rolled out of the way. Okay, your turn. Crackling blue energy flared around Jae-hyun. Snap, 3 lightning chains whipped toward her. But Seon-eun didn't flinch. At this range, evasion should have been impossible. Blink. She was suddenly behind him. A-rank lightning chains. You've been holding out on me. Her counter was already launched. But a god-tier skill is useless if you don't know how to drive it. Still, I'm impressed. I held back and you're still standing. Let's see if you can handle this. She prepped a spell that, by her calculations, he couldn't dodge. It was a teaching moment. She fired. But then the impossible happened. Her sacred arrow didn't hit him. It disintegrated in midair. Absolute calculation activated. He deconstructed her spell code in real time. Seon-eun stared, mask slipping. You just never stop, do you? How many aces do you have up your sleeve? Jae-hyun grinned. Who knows, boom. A lightning chain erupted from the floor beneath her. She threw up a barrier just in time. The impact rattled her arm. Before she could reset, multiple chains manifested behind Jae-hyun poised to strike. That's when the horror set in. No incantations, no cast time. He was chain casting instantly. This wasn't rookie behavior. It was prodigy-level anomaly. But the tank was empty. Jae-hyun's mana hit 0. "You're gifted," Seon-un said, regaining composure, but unpolished. Before the sentence finished, Jae-hyun hit the mat. "You didn't think you'd actually win, did you?" she teased, but immediately reached down to haul him up. That fight changed everything. He knew the power gap between them was an ocean, but Yoo Sung-un saw something else entirely, raw, untapped potential. "Watching you fight just triggered a thought." She grinned. "A strategy everyone dreams of, but nobody's ever executed. Except you. You're the key. So start calling me master." "Congrats, kid, you're my first disciple." Back home, Min Jae-hyun couldn't shake the adrenaline. The duel played on a loop in his head. Kim Yoo-jung finally snapped her fingers in his face. Earth to Jae-hyun. "Hello. Are you even listening? Keep zoning out. And I'm quitting as your tutor. Look, now that you're focused, let's talk business." Magic had 1,000 branches, but realistically, only 3 actually counted: combat buffs and healing. The deeper Min Jae-hyun dove into the theory, the more his system interface started going haywire with notifications. It was like the algorithm itself was desperate for him to level up. Kim Yoo-jung let out a heavy sigh. "You're actually a freak of nature. Spells that take normal people a month to grind. You're nailing in 48 hours. Jae-hyun shrugged it off. "Big deal. You did it in 3 days." Yoo-jung's eyes started to gloss over, raw emotion bubbling up. "I've been studying magic for ages, but your growth curve is terrifying. At this rate, you're gonna leave me in the dust." But she had no clue that Min Jae-hyun was way more stressed than she was. The guy literally gambled his soul against the goddess of death. She kept going. "Do you even realize how insane I thought you were for pivoting to a martial build? Sure, magic doesn't pay as much, but wasting that kind of god-tier compatibility, that's madness." Jae-hyun turned his head, and suddenly, his vision was choked with spectral chains. A figure materialized from the shadows behind him, taking slow, deliberate steps, until he loomed right over Jae-hyun. The stranger leaned in, whispering a secret directly into his ear. Snap. Reality crashed back in. Kim Yoo-jung was still mid-rant. "Wait, you've been grinding actual combat drills too, right?" While nodding along, Jae-hyun's brain was frantically rewinding the hallucination. That bizarre encounter stuck to him like glue. Was it a glitch? A vision he didn't know? He only knew the voice had said something bone-chilling, but there was 0 time to overthink it. He had 2 months on the clock, unless he pulled off a miracle to break this stalemate. Meanwhile, Park Sung-ji was prowling the Lotus Guild training grounds, his gig spotting rookie mistakes and crushing them before they became bad habits. When Yoo Sung-un showed up, Park immediately launched into the daily debrief, but Yoo Sung-un looked like she was a million miles away. "You've got Min Jae-hyun on the brain, don't you?" Yoo Sung-un cracked a small smile. "Sharp as ever. Can't hide anything from you." Park pressed on. "If my memory serves that technique you're planning to hand over to the kid, it's a graveyard for raiders. Countless have tried. 0 have succeeded." Yoo Sung-un kept her cool. "You've seen the kid's stats with your own eyes. Right, if magic types ever get a new S-rank icon, it's gonna be him, and when he ascends, he's going to rewrite the entire meta for mages." Cut to Min Jae-hyun, looking grim, trying to craft a pill. He had the recipe memorized, followed the steps to the letter, but the result? Straight up poison. The harsh reality was that this pill wasn't supposed to exist for another 5 years. The genius alchemist destined to invent it, Lee Jae-sang, a guy who'd eventually save humanity by boosting mana caps, had released the formula open source just to help hunters globally. With no other options, Jae-hyun decided to track down the present-day Lee Jae-song. Maybe, just maybe, his future knowledge plus Lee's talent could speedrun the pill's creation. In this timeline, Lee should be a fresh-faced first year at Mills Academy. Plan set. Jae-hyun packed up to leave that very night. At the terminal, the clerk eyed him. "Destination, 1 ticket to Daegu, please." Jae-hyun answered calmly. But Daegu, that place was a war zone under total lockdown. Monsters swarmed the streets. Stepping foot in that city was basically signing your own death warrant. Given the chaos, there was only one reason to head to Daegu: you were a Mills Academy student. Soon enough, Jae-hyun stood at the academy gates. Walking the campus he'd know years in the future, he felt zero nostalgia. This place was just a monument to his past trauma. But right now, Mission 1, find Lee Jae-song. The kid's dad was the nation's first S-rank raider, meaning Lee grew up crushed under the weight of massive expectations. Lee was forced into a martial class, but his combat skills were trash. He hated fighting, so checking the training grounds was a waste of time. Just as Jae-hyun turned toward the classrooms, a ruckus exploded nearby. Eavesdropping on the gossip, he realized some stuttering kid was getting hazed. Old memories clawed at him. Jae-hyun decided he wasn't going to let this slide. He shoved his way through the circle of onlookers like a battering ram. He threw the classroom door open just as a body slammed into him. The stuttering boy scrambled to apologize, terrified. A blonde punk in the back sneered. Who's the random? You want a piece of our stuttering pet? The victim. It was Lee Jae-sang. Jae-hyun didn't think. He just asked, "You good, Hyung?" Lee froze, totally baffled by the stranger's kindness. The blonde kid cackled. "Since when did Stutters have a baby brother? You guys look nothing alike." He never mentioned family. "I assumed monsters ate them all years ago." "We're busy here," he spat, reaching out to shove Jae-hyun. "Beat it unless you want to see something, nah." Smack. Jae-hyun swatted the hand away. He turned his back on the bully, focusing on Lee. "Go to the infirmary, now." Ignored and humiliated, the blonde kid snapped, grabbing Jae-hyun's collar. "Are you blind, moron? I'm talking to him. You got a death wish?" Jae-hyun stared down at the hand on his shirt, his voice dropping to sub-zero. "That is strike two. Why is everyone obsessed with grabbing my collar lately?" As the words left his mouth, Min Jae-hyun's mind flashed back to the magic theory. Kim Yoo-young had drilled into him. Perfect recall. He instantly mirrored Liu Xiang'an's casting technique. In a split second, a blinding sacred arrow materialized and smashed directly into the blonde student's chest. Gritting his teeth through the pain, the blonde guy swung his sword wildly at Min Jae-hyun, but before the steel could even connect, the blade was violently deflected. Min Jae-hyun had already deployed a magic field, too fast, before the blonde student could even process the counter. Min Jae-hyun's hand clamped over his face. His eyes went dead cold. This ends right now. Another sacred arrow fired at point-blank range, dropping the blonde student instantly. He crumpled to the ground out cold. Seeing his opponent was completely incapacitated, Min Jae-hyun decided not to turn this into a murder scene. He pulled out a high-grade potion instead. The moment Lee Jae-sang saw the vial, panic washed over him as Min Jae-hyun dumped the liquid onto the unconscious student's face. The bruises vanished in seconds. Visible healing. Min Jae-hyun turned his gaze to Lee Jae-sang. "Let's get him to the infirmary." But despite his words, Min Jae-hyun was definitely not walking toward the nurse's office. He stopped in a dead-end alleyway, secluded, quiet. Nobody comes here, no matter what we discuss. Not a soul will hear us. Lee Jae-sang's heart hammered. He automatically assumed Min Jae-hyun was a hitman sent by his father. Even though Min Jae-hyun had denied knowing his dad, the terror in Lee Jae-sang's eyes screamed. Total disbelief. He finally worked up the nerve to ask, "Why did you track me down?" Min Jae-hyun kept it cool. "I have a request. I need you to cook up a specific drug for me." Lee Jae-sang waved his hands frantically. "No way, I don't make that kind of stuff." Min Jae-hyun pressed him. "You're an alchemy genius, aren't you? You're the one moving this product on the black market, right?" Lee Jae-sang froze. Black market deals were supposed to be 100% anonymous. Yet this stranger had doxed him effortlessly. Lee Jae-sang's mind was spiraling. Who is this guy? How did he find me? Min Jae-hyun doubled down. "You brewed this potion, didn't you?" Lee Jae-sang started stuttering, losing his cool. I have no idea what you mean." Internally, he was regretting the day he ever listed that potion for sale. He thought it was the perfect crime. Now it was leverage hanging over his neck like a guillotine. Defeated, he whispered, "Please, don't rat me out." Min Jae-hyun replied with zero malice. "I'm not here to blackmail you." He tossed the potion back to Lee Jae-sang. "I just need a truly elite alchemist to help me create the formula I need." Looking into Min Jae-hyun's earnest eyes, Lee Jae-sang realized this wasn't a trap. After a tense silence, he asked, "Who are you?" "Really?" Min Jae-hyun gave it to him straight. "I'm a freshman at Milas Academy. The name is Min Jae-hyun." Lee Jae-sang processed this for a second before nodding. "All right, tell me what you need." Moments later, they were standing in Lee Jae-sang's private workshop. He asked, "So what exactly are we making?" Min Jae-hyun didn't flinch. "A pill that permanently expands mana capacity." Lee Jae-sang was floored. Permanent expansion, that's physically impossible, but a split second later, his brain shifted into hyperdrive analyzing the theoretical compound. Min Jae-hyun clocked the shift immediately. The stutter vanished. With just a prompt, Lee Jae-sang was already mentally assembling the core. Ingredients, a true prodigy. But then Lee Jae-sang snapped out of it and slumped his shoulders. "A drug that powerful. You need a master, not me." Min Jae-hyun shut that down instantly. "I'm only asking you. I'll bankroll the entire operation." He knew the truth, even with the recipe. 99% of alchemists would botch it. Lee Jae-sang had a gift that no one else could touch. But the guy had zero confidence. "I get it, but I can't promise it'll work." Min Jae-hyun replied instantly. "That's fine. Failure is part of the process." Lee Jae-sang looked confused, "But if I fail, you lose everything." Min Jae-hyun shrugged calmly. "I'm betting on your talent. Every investment has risks, right?" Hearing that, Lee Jae-sang felt tears welling up. It was the first time in his life someone had bet on him completely. Since birth, he had been invisible, living in the giant shadow of his father and brothers. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a warrior. Because of that, he never got his father's respect. That's why Min Jae-hyun's faith hit him so hard. As the days turned into weeks, Jae-hyun's body finally synced with the mage's combat rhythm, getting stomped by Yoo Seon-in. Yeah, that was history. Now he was flipping the script, actually pressuring her. Sometimes he'd even run out the clock without taking a single L. But confidence in the gym doesn't always transfer to the ring. Taking down Demon King Nightshade, that was still a massive question mark. One last pit stop. He hit up Lee Jae-sang and man, the guy delivered the goods. The elixir was absolute perfection. Jae-hyun downed it and boom, mana spiked by 15 points instantly. See, told ya, Jae-hyun beamed, hyping him up. You're a straight-up genius. Jae-sang got all shy. It only worked because you believed in me. Noticing the dark circles under the guy's eyes, Jae-hyun got serious. Go crash, man. You look like a walking zombie. Jae-sang rubbed his bleary eyes, forcing a smile. If you need another miracle, just holler. With that, Jae-hyun exited the workshop. No more prep time. Tomorrow was D-Day. He had a promise to keep to the goddess of death. Suddenly, Hell's voice echoed in his mind. I've got a vibe. We're about to get a VIP visitor. Fast forward to dawn. Jae-hyun was back at the dungeon gate, locked and loaded. Pre-check complete. Park Seong-ji cranked the entrance open, and just like that, it was go time. Solo, run round 2. This time, the teleportation vertigo didn't even make him blink. Touchdown in the realm of the dead. The mission was simple. Drop Nightshade. Unlock the secrets of his reincarnation. A chill ran through the air as a spectral glow flared up ahead. Enemy spotted skeletal archer. The bone bag had its bow-drawn arrow locked onto Jae-hyun's skull. Too bad for it, Jae-hyun wasn't the same rookie anymore. He was rocking a dual-class build now. Usually mixing styles is a recipe for disaster. You get wrecked in melee by fighters, and outgunned at range by mages. Stuck in the middle, trash at both. That's the stereotype. But Yoo Seon-in, she knew Jae-hyun was built different. He was the exception to the rule. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Park Seong-ji was on standby monitoring the feed. Suddenly the hairs on his neck stood up. Unknown presence. His hand snapped to his weapon hilt. A flashy red sports car screeched to a halt, and a girl stepped out, flashing a $1 million smile. Bingo, so this is your hideout. I've been hunting you down for ages. It was Yeonju, an old junior from his college days. Recognizing her face, Seong-ji relaxed his grip, exhaling sharply. They hadn't spoken since graduation, so her popping up here was totally out of left field. Yeonju cocked her head. Wait, you're the gatekeeper here. That's weird. This seems way below your pay grade, doesn't it? She paused, leaning in, closer voice, dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Spill the tea. The rumors about Chairwoman Yu's health tanking. Are they legit? Seong-ji's face turned to stone. Don't be ridiculous. Of course not. Where are you even hearing this garbage, Yeonju? She shrugged casually. Word gets around. My guild has eyes and ears everywhere. That's when the alarm bells started ringing in Seong-ji's head. The Lotus Guild had a mole. Thanks for the heads up, he said, voice icy. Looks like I've got some house cleaning to do later. Yeonju whipped out her phone, swiping to a photo. One more thing. You know this kid Min Jae-hyun. He's practically living at the Lotus Guild lately, constantly meeting with the chairwoman. What's the deal with him? Seong-ji's eyes narrowed into slits. That's classified. Outsiders don't need to know. Hitting a brick wall, Yeonju spun around with a smirk. Figured you'd stonewall me, Senior Seong-ji. You're famous for keeping secrets. I was just checking the boxes because the guild paid me to ask. Had to make it look good, you know. Anyway, I'm out. Catch you later, Senior. Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, Jae-hyun had already wiped the floor with the trash mobs. Now he stood in the silence waiting for the main event. A sinister rustle swept through the darkness. He knew that sound. The boss was here. Like clockwork, Nightshade materialized from the shadows. Jae-hyun locked eyes with the towering monster. Long time no see, he stated, voice steady. But I'm not the same prey I was last time. Before the echo even faded, he unleashed hell. Nightshade tanked the hit, and snapped back with a lethal counter, but Jae-hyun danced around it like it was nothing. He went airborne, raining down attacks without missing a beat. Sacred arrows flew like a machine gun, chipping away at Nightshade's HP bar chunk by chunk. Crushed by the sheer weight of the attack, Nightshade had to back off, letting Min Jae-hyun touch down. But the second the Demon King recovered, it snapped back with a vengeance. Boom, 3 energy blades ripped through the air, screaming straight for Jae-hyun's head. But Jae-hyun didn't even flinch. A smooth sidestep, and the attack whiffed completely. That casual dodge clearly shook the Demon King to its core. Watching Jae-hyun close the gap, Nightshade panicked and spammed attacks, but it was useless. Jae-hyun was weaving through every strike, with board precision. Then he raised a hand. Skill activation, lightning chains. You look confused. Not part of the script, he taunted. Before the echo faded, a dozen electric shackles launched at Nightshade. This wasn't just a basic skill. It was a guided missile way stronger than Sacred Arrow, and Jae-hyun was steering the trajectory in midair. The Demon King never accounted for a curveball. One hesitation and it was over. Nightshade was trussed up like a holiday turkey. Still, Jaehyun knew. This boss was too tanky to go down from just a bind. He immediately loaded up a sacred arrow to secure the kill. But this boss was built different. Nightshade's health bar was massive. It soaked the damage and didn't drop. Instead, it roared glowing red. Berserk mode engaged. The clock was the real enemy now. If Jaehyun didn't wrap this up in 10 minutes, the system would execute him instantly. Desperate, he tried to hack the mechanics using absolute calculation to break the skill, but right before the code cracked, Hell blocked the connection. Denied. Stunned and raging, Jaehyun screamed at the sky. Hell, why are you sabotaging me now? Silence. No answer. Gritting his teeth, he forced himself to lock back in. He had to speedrun this fight. Right now. But Nightshade started playing dirty, backpedaling to burn the clock. It was stalling. Left with zero options, Jaehyun popped Sacrifice to force a lockdown. But Nightshade exploited the casting delay. It countered hard, interrupting Jaehyun's flow, and slapping him with a fear debuff. Seizing the freeze, the boss rushed in, siphoning Jaehyun's HP bar rapidly. Lucky for him, it wasn't a one-shot kill. But if this went to overtime, Jaehyun was dead meat. He switched up the playbook instantly, blind the enemy. He charged, and as expected, Nightshade tried to kite him, but Jaehyun slammed the brakes, stopping just within casting range. You really thought I was gonna just run at you. The taunt hung in the air as a blinding flashbang erupted. Through the whiteout, lightning chains snaked in, hitting dead center. Jaehyun dashed in to finish it. The Demon King tried to spawn trash mobs for a meat shield, but Jaehyun had Sacrifice already running. The system flagged the target as undead, morphing the skill into the ultimate nuke, Judgment of Light. With exactly 3 seconds on the clock, Min Jaehyun obliterated the Demon King. Victory. A new title popped up, the first to pass the trial. Right then, Hell's voice echoed. Loki was right about you. Come, child, welcome to my divine temple. In a blink, he was teleported to the massive gates. But the vibe shifted instantly. A heavy killing intent locked onto him. A massive beast lunged from the shadows. Just before Jaehyun got chomped, a voice commanded Garmheal, bring the guest inside. The beast froze, killing intent, vanishing instantly. It turned, guiding Jaehyun into the Temple of Death. Stepping into the gloom, Jaehyun called out, Hell, we need to talk. She manifested, looking genuinely impressed. I didn't think you'd actually survive. Kudos, child of the rebel. You aced the test. Jaehyun cut to the chase, voice low. Why the Nornir system? Why torture me with this trial? What's the endgame? Hell replied, cold as ice. To forge you into a rebel. Jaehyun frowned. Why me? Hell smirked. Because it's in your blood. Your destiny is to crush the high and mighty Aesir and execute the supreme god Odin. That is Loki's bet and ours. Jaehyun was floored. You want me to assassinate Odin? You're speaking gibberish. Hell shrugged indifferent. You don't need to get it yet. I didn't expect you to. You're a pawn in a game you can't see yet, but burn this into your memory. This isn't just an Asgardian crisis. The whole planet is on a one-way trip to extinction, and Odin plans to crown himself king of the ashes. We need your strength to stop the apocalypse. Level up. I'll be waiting for the rematch. Before Jaehyun could even open his mouth, Hell blasted him right out of the temple. Alone again, she whipped her head around, eyes freezing over. You gonna keep lurking in the shadows? Pretty sure I didn't send an invite. A golden orb materialized, and Mimir's voice resonated from within. Forgive an old man's intrusion. I heard you made contact and I couldn't resist. That kid, his loyalty is timeless. But spill it. What was it like seeing him in the flesh? Hell kept her poker face. Too early to call it. He's barely taken his first step. Mimir let out a low chuckle. Maybe, but I get the feeling you've got a soft spot for the rookie. Hell didn't clap back. For a rebel, he's leveling up faster than I anticipated. I threw him a curveball, and he crushed it to stand right here. Sure, things got a little chaotic, but I'm satisfied. Mimir let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Good. That's good. If his path is clear, I can sleep at night. Hell cut him off, voice dropping a few degrees. That's it. Don't play dumb, Mimir. You've got secrets to spill. Mimir feigned total innocence. I haven't the foggiest clue what you mean. Hell scoffed. You slippery old fox. You really think I'm blind? The law of causality around that kid is warped beyond recognition. Did you really think that would slip past me? Guess Wise Giant is just a dusty old title now. And his left eye. That was Odin's sacrifice to the Well of Wisdom. Start talking, Mimir. What kind of game are you and Loki playing? Mimir's tone shifted to apologetic. My apologies, but it's not time for the full story yet. Just chalk it up to fate's design for now. A faint smirk touched Hell's lips. Fate right. Fine patience is my specialty, but I'm not sitting on the sidelines. The prophecy says he's got a gauntlet of trials ahead. To reach the top, he needs a Sherpa. Someone to keep him on the straight and narrow. Meanwhile, Jaehyun was beamed right out of the dungeon. He was still in the dark about the big picture, but he didn't leave empty-handed. Hell's blessing now made him immune to every status debuff in the book. Fast forward a week before the semester kicked off. Yu Sung's secretary. Park Hana dragged Jae-hyun to the mall to gear up for school. But the guy looked like he was marching to a funeral, not a shopping spree. Hannah picked up on the vibe instantly. Hey, you look wrecked. Something eating at you. Naturally, Jae-hyun wasn't about to spill his guts. That detour to the domain of the dead gave him 0 answers and a million questions. Sure, he scored an EX rank skill, but the price tag, taking out Odin himself. Heavy stuff. Lost in the sauce, Jae-hyun trailed behind Hannah like a zombie until she was already talking shop with a clerk. She'd picked out a magic dagger for him. When Jae-hyun saw the price, 300 million, he nearly choked. Cold Sweat City. He never imagined a consumable could cost a fortune. Hannah didn't blink. Look, Milla's Academy hands out starter packs. But they're trash tier. You want to survive, you bring your own heat. Then she whipped out a scroll-length shopping list from Yu-sung and went into full gear-up mode. Jae-hyun stared at the wall of text, scalp tingling back, drenched. Hannah had been clear, but Jae-hyun figured they'd grab a couple of potions and dip. He figured this was a quick run for artifacts, not an all-day event. Reality hit him like a truck. Hannah wasn't done. Alright, armor's next. Jae-hyun shut that down fast. He'd already looted a 6 set from the domain of the dead. For a guy his level, that gear was overkill. Plus, it came with a built-in stealth skill. Hannah caught him mumbling and assumed he was hunting for a stealth card. That was the holy grail for raiders. But you don't just find those at the mall. Jae-hyun waved her off frantically. Whoa, no, just thinking out loud. Don't sweat it. Nobody actually learns stealth right. Unless RNGesus blessed you with a dungeon drop, getting a stealth card was a pipe dream. Hannah nodded solemnly. True facts. The only person in the entire country running stealth is my brother. Jae-hyun's curiosity instantly spiked. Who exactly was this guy? Park Hana dropped the bomb. My brother is Park Sungjae. Wait, seriously? Jae-hyun was floored. He never pictured Hana as Sungjae's sibling. Their vibes were on totally different planets. Suddenly, a ping hit Jae-hyun's radar. A blinding flash ripped across his vision again. 0 hesitation. Jae-hyun bolted toward the glow, sniffing out some legendary loot, waiting to be claimed. Smash cut to the dojo, and Hoyeon is deep in the trenches. Violent sword blasts scream toward his opponent. The white-haired fighter looks like an infinite stamina machine, every strike packing pure, unadulterated aggression. But when the dust settled on the sparring match, Hoyeon was the last man standing. His opponent was tough, sure, but the skill gap, it wasn't even close. Word on the street calls him the next S-rank powerhouse. And honestly, the hype is real, but his father just glared. Good job, don't get a big head. Winning was the bare minimum. Hoyeon bowed his head. Understood, father. The old man checked his watch. Show's over. Shower up. We're hitting the mall. He had no clue that Hoyeon was absolutely done with this robotic existence. He was burned out, fried. At this point, he was just a pawn on his dad's chessboard. Trapped with no exit strategy. He just took it. This wasn't the raider life he signed up for. Meanwhile, Jae-hyun reached the treasure drop. Jaw drop. The loot right in front of him, Mistiltine. Yeah, the legendary god slayer that took out Odin's son Balder. We're talking about an artifact buzzing with infinite mana. A weapon that levels up with its user. Jae-hyun started sweating. Was the system trolling him again? He was so lost in the stats screen, he didn't even see an Hoyeon ghosting past him. Hoyeon was dragging his feet through the gear shop with his dad. He sighed. Do we really need to buy all this junk? His dad didn't blink. It's for you. Future S-ranks don't cheap out on gear. Hoyeon bit his lip before pushing back. But, this costs a fortune. What about mom's hospital bills this month? His father shut him down instantly. Drop it. I handle the money. You just train. Hoyeon froze, feeling like a literal puppet on strings. Why was he even here? He felt like a zoo animal put on display for the public to gawk at and judge. He flashed back to his awakening day. His mom's smile, that gentle pat on the head. That was the spark. He wanted to be a raider to bring a little hope into that suffocating broken home. But to his dad, that dream was just a cash cow. So Hoyeon became a robot executing his father's code day in, day out. Suddenly, bam, a dungeon rift cracked open right next to the mall. Hoyeon froze, but his dad was already walking away. Hoyeon, snap out of it. Let's go. You're a national treasure, kid. You get hurt here, we blow the Milan Academy debut. Not worth it. But Hoyeon saw the terrified civilians. Instinct kicked in. He ditched his dad and sprinted toward the chaos. This was it. His shot to prove he was a real raider. He had to know. Was he still the son his mother believed in? But the second he saw the goblins, Hoyeon slammed on the brakes. First time seeing them up close. Even though they were trash mobs, he started shaking like a leaf. Pure terror. He just stood there as the beasts charged. The killing intent paralyzed him. He was dead meat. But right at the buzzer, Jae-hyun crashed in, tackling Hoyeon out of the kill zone. Jae-hyun stared down at the trembling kid. You and Hoyeon rewind 2.5 minutes. Back to when Jae-hyun snagged Mistiltine. Hana had just caught up to the shop. She was staring at Jae-hyun like he lost his mind. wondering why he dropped cash on a jagged, ugly rock. Before Jaehyun could explain, the dungeon alarm screamed through the speakers. Jaehyun didn't hesitate. He bolted for the exit, raider instinct in full effect. The second he hit fresh air, Min Jaehyun unleashed Sacred Arrow, letting a barrage of pure magical destruction rain down on the goblin horde. But the sheer volume of monsters was insane. Even for him, soloing this endless mob was a suicide mission. That's when he clocked the so-called unfortunate prodigy and Hyun, who looked completely shook. And Hyun couldn't figure out who this powerhouse was, but Jaehyun cut him off Q&A later. Right now I need backup. Suddenly a goblin lunged from the shadows and Hyun screamed, "Yo, watch your six." Too slow, Jaehyun had already deleted the threat before the warning even left Hyun's lips. Jaehyun whipped around cold as ice. "You gonna freeze up, get a grip, grab your gear." Those words slapped the fear right out of him, and Hyun's hesitation instantly evaporated. This guy, he was the definition of a true raider. No time to simp though, they had a monster mash to clean up, and civilians in the mall to save. Jaehyun checked on Hyun's vibe and asked, "Can you pull aggro with taunt? If yes, draw their fire. We're outnumbered so you gotta peel them off me." And Hyun didn't blink. Weapon summoned, skill trigger pulled, taunting roar. And we're not talking basic aggro here, this was high-tier stuff. Pulling off a move like that at his age, yeah, that's exactly why they labeled him a genius. In the original timeline before Jaehyun's respawn, and Hyun peaked at a mediocre B rank, and nobody knew why he flopped. But it was probably that glass heart of his, a total mismatch with his genius reputation. First sign of real trouble, and he'd fold. Hence the tragic nickname, the unfortunate prodigy. But this run is different. Jaehyun sees a future ace up his sleeve in this kid. A serious asset. Jaehyun nodded solid. Now, let's speedrun this dungeon. Dust settles. Suddenly a voice cracks through the silence. "Holy, what is this carnage?" Both heads snapped toward the noise. It was backup a raider finally showing up to the party. Park Kyung-hun. Raider Association, the newcomer announced, looking totally stunned. "You two?" "Cleared this whole mob," they nodded. Park's eyes locked onto An Hyun. The gears started turning in Park's head. He knew the rumors about the prodigy kid, but looking at him, he's barely high school material. And the guy next to him, just as fresh-faced. Two teenagers wiped an army. The math wasn't mathing, and Park looked visibly stressed. "How do I even write this report?" Sensing the panic, Jaehyun stepped in. "Actually, let's talk about that. Put it on the associations tab. Nobody's gonna believe two kids dropped this many bodies anyway." Park frowned. "That violates protocol." Jaehyun didn't flinch. "Only if someone saw it. And it looks pretty empty in here, right?" Park sighed, defeated. "Look, I'm a Fed. I can't just go off script, because I feel like it. But, if you want to stay low-key, I can bury the details. I'll process the bounty rewards." Jaehyun pointed at An Hyun. "Great. Send my cut to him too. And forget my face." As Jaehyun turned to bounce, An Hyun panicked. "Hold up, what are you doing? You did the heavy lifting here." Jaehyun kept it vague. "Sorry, gotta move in silence." The Millen's Academy opener was coming up fast, and the last thing he needed was his dad catching wind of his power levels. Being weak kept him safe before, but now, he was a walking target. If he gets outed, the plan is ruined. He has to stay smurfing in low ranks for now. That's the only way to secure his revenge. Meanwhile, An Hyun was spiraling over the moral conflict. His brain said, "Don't steal valor." He didn't earn that clout. But the bounty money, that could save his sick mom. He wanted honor, but he couldn't let his mom die. Jaehyun saw the kid breaking and pushed him. "Use your head," he said coldly. "Every choice triggers a butterfly effect. Keep stalling, and someone's gonna pay the price. Wake up, An Hyun." It hit him hard. Chasing dreams means zero if you lose the one person who anchors your soul. No more hesitation. He locked eyes and stated flatly, "If the stars align, I'm clearing this debt." Park Hyun-hoon clocked it instantly. Min Jae-hyun wasn't just a kid. He was an old soul operating on a different wavelength. He jumped in with perfect timing. "Since you guys shook on it, I'll roll with your playbook." Deal sealed. Min Jae-hyun turned to bounce. "I'm out." And Hae-yoon scrambled to block his path. "Hold up, drop a name or some digits," Jae-hyun smirked. "Let's not make this deep. We're both freshmen at Milan Academy. Trust me, our paths are gonna cross again." Fast forward to enrollment day. The hype was real, especially for the martial arts god himself. And Hae-yoon had heads turning left and right. But then another heavyweight entered the chat, Su Ye-na. She was destined to be the queen of the Raider charts. But Su Ye-na, she wasn't just another pretty face. Jae-hyun knew she was playing hard to get. No point in rushing a recruit like that. Besides, his squad was already stacked with 3 monsters whose power levels broke the scale. Kim Yo-jung nudged him, clearly salty. "Okay, she's a 10, but quit drooling on the pavement." Su Ye-na shot a glance their way, catching the vibe. Suddenly the speakers blasted to life. "Welcome fresh meat of Milan Academy. I'm your chairman Gu Zae-rin." The second that name dropped, Jae-hyun's face went ice cold. This man was the architect of his past nightmares. He leaned in, voice grim. "Lock in Yo-jung. This place isn't safe. Anything can happen. She totally missed the vibe check, laughing it off. Aw, worried about me. Chill, I'm built different. Jae-hyun stayed silent, deep in thought. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Facts were facts. Post-enrollment Kim Yo-jung was destined to be the #3 magic-type powerhouse. But in this timeline, he wasn't letting her walk into that same tragic ending. On stage, Gu Zae-rin kept the monologue going. Listen up, students. We're kicking this off with a bang. A subspace hunting game. Seniors versus rookies. Welcome to the freshman hunt. Suddenly the floor glowed. A magic circle erupted under Yo-jung's feet, catching her off guard. Instincts flaring, Jae-hyun lunged and clamped his hand around her wrist just as reality warped. Smash cut to the Lotus Guild. Park Sung-jae checked his watch. Jae-hyun starts his academy arc today, right? Yoo Sung-in gasped. Wait, today I forgot to send the good luck text. He's probably ghosting his phone by now. Park Sung-jae stayed cool. I figured the chairman would pull a stunt, so I hit him up yesterday. Yoo Sung-in's eyes lit up. No way, did he reply? Spill the tea. Sung-jae flashed his screen. One line, don't sweat it. Meanwhile, Jae-hyun and Yo-jung touched down in the subspace. But they weren't solo. Standing there was the S-tier magic legend herself, Su Ye-na, the girl who rewrote the meta. Cut to the control room. Gu Zae-rin watched the monitors like a hawk flanked by staff. Instructor Kim piped up, this batch is absolutely cracked. And Hae-yoon is already global news. A total superstar. But the talent pool runs deep. Su Ye-na, Kim Yo-jung, Lee Soo-hyuk. All magic types, all scoring above 90. There's also one wildcard who switched classes midstream. Profile is still loading. Gu Zae-rin scoffed. Indecisive brats like that always wash out. Getting into Milan proves talent, sure. But compared to gods like An Hae-yoon, the rest are just NPCs. Stepping stones. However, when you back a rat into a corner with death staring them in the face, that's when evolution happens. A second awakening. If they survive, we cash in. Being a raider is about results, nothing else. And the ones who break, just defective products, trash them. And the ones who get stomped out, they're just broken goods. Defective trash that didn't have what it takes to survive the grind. His mission, handpick the absolute elite to serve the great one. And the clock was ticking. Disappointing the big boss wasn't an option. Welcome to the Millis Academy entrance ceremony, the freshman hunt. The arena A subspace dimension completely severed from the laws of physics. Reality warped into nightmares here. A place where 5% of the student body got wiped out annually. This brutality served one single purpose, pushing these kids to their absolute breaking points. That's exactly why Min Jae-hyun stayed on high alert. Zero margin for error. Especially with a mage-class monster like Su Yena nearby. Suddenly, Gu Ja-in's hologram flickered into existence. Listen up. Here are the rules for the freshman hunt. You are restricted to C-rank skills, or lower. Rip off a rival's name tag, you score points. Seniors tagging a freshman, that's a cool 10,000. But if a rookie takes down a senior, that's a massive 100,000 point bounty. Spend those points on academy gear upgrades, you name it. Don't worry about dying. We nerfed skill damage to keep you alive. Now, go get 'em. Jae-hyun caught the catch immediately. Gu Ja-in didn't say a word about innate skills or raw talent. The game was rigged to weed out the trash instantly and spotlight the real prodigies from day one. Jae-hyun turned to Kim Yeon. We're stuck here for 3 days. Securing a shelter is priority number 1. This dimension was a minefield of traps. Surviving 72 hours meant finding a safe zone was non-negotiable. Kim Yeon whispered, what about her? She looks like a mage class too. Wouldn't we be safer teaming up? Safety in numbers, right? Jae-hyun calculated the odds. Su Yena was a powerhouse, but she was a ticking time bomb. In the future, she'd be infamous for going completely berserk and taking everyone down with her. He hesitated. We can't just rush into this. She's a flight risk. Look at those eyes, she doesn't trust us one bit. Kim Yeon shook her head. I don't get that vibe at all. Honestly, she reminds me of you when you were little. Kim Yeon didn't wait, she marched right up to Su Yena. Hey, wanna squat up? We're mages too. This whole game is stacked against us freshmen. We stand a better chance together. Su Yena glanced up, her voice ice cold. Teaming up might not be our biggest problem right now. Boom. A gust of wind slammed into them. 2 silhouettes emerged from the dust. 3 rookies already. Man points are practically falling into our laps this year. The ambushers were seniors. Shin Jun-sung and Kwon Xiaolu from Milas Academy. Kwon Xiaolu frowned. Wait. Why 3? I only tracked 2 signals. She realized with a start she couldn't sense Jae-hyun at all. Kim Yeon panicked. Those are martial class seniors. We need to run now. Jae-hyun stood his ground. No running. We end this here. Thanks to his past life, he knew exactly what Kwon Xiaolu could do. Her tracking range was 300 kilometers. If they didn't neutralize her now, she'd call in backup, and it would be game over. Shin Jun-seong grinned like a maniac. Free points, I'm going all out. He launched himself at the trio. Swoosh. Jae-hyun sidestepped the attack like he was bored. He spoke calmly. Been a while since someone had the guts to swing a blade at me. Shin Jun-song saw red and slashed again. I know every rookie worth a damn. You're just a mage. But before he could blink, clang, Jaehyun caught the blade. With his bare hand, his voice dropped an octave. You're stupid. Impressive you've lived this long being that dumb. Crack. He shattered the steel like a twig. Su-yena froze eyes wide. Jaehyun didn't flinch. I'll give you 3 seconds. Drop the tag and you walk. Shin Jun-song was paralyzed with fear, his brain short-circuiting. Time's up, Jaehyun sighed. I gave you an out. You blew it. 1 punch. That's all it took to flatten Shin Jun-song. Kwon Xiaolu stared in disbelief. She never imagined her partner would get folded that fast. Back in the control room, Kim Sok-ji watched the screen. Finally, a rookie snags a name tag. The moment he speaks, the PA system blasts the update contestant Min. Jaehyun just banked 100,000 points. Instructor Yo Yeseo freezes, totally stunned. She snaps her head toward Instructor Park Hae-jun, voice dropping to a harsh whisper. Is the system glitching? Why wasn't this tracked, Park? Hae-jun scrambles to check the logs. Instructor, Yo, diagnostic is clean. No bugs here. Meanwhile, a sinister grin creeps onto Gujaran's face. Min Jae-hyun. Oh, she is definitely watching him now. Back in the digital arena, Kwon Xiaolun is losing her mind. I've never even heard your name. Who the hell are you, Min Jae-hyun? Completely ghosts her, turning straight to Kim Yoo-jung. Party invite sent. Accept it. Let's wrap this up. Kim Yoo-jung is reeling. Since when did Min Jae-hyun become this OP? Su-yena stays quiet, simply unsheathing her blade. Even without the monster rookie, there is no escape. Kwon Xiaolun realizes she's trapped in a 1 versus 3 nightmare. Desperate, she decides to nuke one target and vanish in the smoke. She aims for the mage, but Kim Yoo-jung effortlessly weaves past the attack. If Kim were just some random scrub, that would have worked. Too bad she's elite. Dodging the strike, Kim instantly slaps a bind spell on Kwon. The senior slips the crowd control, whipping, throwing knives in a lethal arc. Clang Kim throws up a magic barrier just in time, deflecting the steel. Min Jae-hyun knows the score. Kim can't solo a high-ranking senior head-on. He steps in to assist but catches the sound of Su-yena whispering. She's casting her ultimate sword of Alfheim. In a blink, Kwon Xiaolun gets absolutely deleted by Su-yena's strike. As she falls, the horrifying truth hits her. These aren't freshmen, they're monsters. Dust settles. Su-yena glances at Kim Yoo-jung, voice flat. Did I steal your kill? Kim waves her hands frantically. No way, you totally saved my bacon. Su-yena presses on. So, that alliance offer, is it still valid? After witnessing that display, Min Jae-hyun has to reevaluate Su-yena. She isn't the unstable psycho the tabloids painted her as. She's just tactical and introverted. Squad formed, the trio makes a beeline for the nearest safe zone, the Nightmare Forest Refuge. Outside, a pack of seniors is hunting for rookie tracks. One spots the trail immediately. Got prints here. Looks like they camped inside the shelter. Hold fire. Regroup on me. They figure no rookie squad can hide in a bunker forever. The plan, camp the entrance and ambush the prey the second they step out. Joke's on them. Min Jae-hyun's crew is already watching. Zap. A sudden attack drops. A senior instantly. It's not just an attack. It is a massive slap in the face to the upperclassmen. Spotting a lingering mana trail, the seniors lock onto Kim Yoo-jung hiding nearby. The mob charges, completely blind to the fact that they just walked into Min Jae-hyun's kill box. Kim glances back, smirking. Whole squad, and you still can't catch me. Embarrassing. The lead senior roars, get back here, you brat. Freeze, they have no clue. Kim Yoo-jung is laughing at their single-cell brain power. Min Jae-hyun had scripted this entire scenario. Sure, the shelter is safe, but turtling there doesn't pay the bills. They need supplies, and more importantly, points. The objective shifted, it's time to farm the seniors. Kim activates Windstep, picking up the pace. She's kiting them straight into a dense patch of paralyzing spore mushrooms. Checkmate. See, Min Jae-hyun had already grilled Lee Jae-sang about how to counter these specific environmental hazards. Jae-sang had paused before answering, no, total immunity exists yet, but osmanthus sap neutralizes the toxin. Min had replied instantly. If it clears the status effect, that's good enough. Thanks, bro. So the team had harvested osmanthus sap before the fight. This exam is rigged for melee builds, putting mages like Kim at a massive disadvantage, unless you play 4D chess like Min Jae-hyun. With 0 offensive innate skills, Jae-hyun knew a head-on clash was suicide, so he cooked up a strategy that was straight-up diabolical. We flipped the script with basics, Jae-hyun announced. Ina raised an eyebrow. With swap, that useless spell that just trades places with a teammate. How does playing musical chairs help us win? Jae-hyun just smirked, holding up a vial of golden osmanthus sap. Chill. With this juice, we go beast mode. Meanwhile, the upperclassmen squad started sensing bad vibes. Something felt sketchy. They realized chasing Kim Young any further meant walking straight into the paralysis zone, a field of toxic spore mushrooms. The group froze. Park Sung-hyuk started sweating bullets, sparking a shouting match with the hot-headed Oh Jung-hyuk. "Oh," snapped, veins popping. "We're deep in enemy territory. You want to bail now and look like cowards." Park's face was grim. "If we bail now, we survive." Oh wasn't having it. He roared. That rookie wiped out Sung-hun. "You want to let him walk?" Park hesitated, his voice shaking. "They might be noobs, but if we get stunned, we're sitting ducks." Oh sneered, eyes full of contempt. "Even if we freeze, that brat is toast." Park, stay back. Guard the perimeter outside the spore zone. The rest of you on me. I'm gonna teach these kids that cheap parlor tricks won't save their skins. Oh wasn't stupid. He knew Young was baiting them into an ambush setup. But his rage had total control of the wheel. Plus, who takes magic-type freshmen seriously anyway? Finally, closing the gap, Oh cornered Kim Young and snarled like a predator. "End of the line, brat. Nowhere to run. You really got a kick out of playing tag, huh?" Young grinned, totally unbothered. "Come get some then. Or are you chicken? You were talking real big a second ago. Why stop now?" That did it. The seniors lost it and charged forward blind with fury. Boom. Young stomped, detonating the spore mushrooms right under her feet. A massive cloud erupted. The toxic dust blanketed everything within a 50-meter radius, locking every living thing in a 2-hour paralysis coma. From a distance, Jaehyun caught the flash of the explosion. He glanced at Ina. Showtime. Back in the toxic fog. Oh, Jung-hyuk was shook. He never thought she'd actually nuke herself with the spores. It was a kamikaze move. Or so he thought. Young's eyes lit up. Switch. Tagging out. She triggered her active skill, swap. In a literal blink, Jaehyun materialized in the air, driving his heel straight into Oh's face. Crunch. Sup seniors, he deadpanned. My turn. He didn't even let the sentence finish before punting. Oh, across the clearing. But even while flying through the air, Oh screamed, desperate and stubborn. "You think you won, you moron. You just trapped yourself. You teleported right into the paralysis zone, and I've got a lookout waiting for this exact moment. Once the fog clears, you're dead." Jaehyun cut him off ice cold. "Sorry, your lookout isn't coming." Right on cue, a massive explosion rocked the distant forest. The system voice rang out. Contestant Park Sung-hyuk eliminated. The killer Soo-in-ah. Oh saw the notification and his blood ran cold. He was frozen. Jaehyun stepped closer. "Told you he wouldn't make it." That's when the horror finally hit. Oh, the spores. The ones that stunlock players for 2 full hours. They weren't touching Jaehyun. Thanks to Hell's blessing, he was immune to all status effects. He was the apex predator in a room full of statues. Jaehyun stomped down. "Take your complaints to the admins." The remaining seniors watched in horror, completely paralyzed. As their leader was deleted from the match, Jaehyun turned his dead eyes to the trio. 3 left. Meanwhile, in the control room, the kill feed was going berserk. The instructors were floored. Jaehyun's squad had just rocketed to the #1 spot on the leaderboard. Back in the safety zone, Kim Young chugged the osmanthus sap, instantly curing her paralysis. With the enemy wiped out, the girls moved to link up with Jaehyun. Jaehyun is weirdly good at high-level swap tactics, Ina noted. That wasn't in the textbook. Young chuckled. He only switched to magic 3 months ago. I literally taught him the basics myself. Ina's jaw dropped. Wait, was he a martial arts major? Young nodded. Yup. Until just a few months ago. Back in the day, this guy was a hardcore melee main, zero respect for magic users. So how the heck did he know that osmanthus sap is the ultimate cure for paralysis? Where does a brawler pick up alchemy hacks like that? It didn't take long for the trio to regroup at the rendezvous point. Min Jae-hyun scanned his teammates. The paralysis debuff is gone, right? You two don't even look winded. Kim Yoo-jung grinned, flashing a thumbs up. Duh, I just sprinted for a bit and popped 1 spell. As game. Seo Una nodded in agreement. I'm good too. Then Kim Yoo-jung squinted at Jae-hyun teasingly. Usually you look kind of brain dead. But today, you're actually acting sus. Min Jae-hyun immediately reached out and pinched her cheek. Who are you calling brain dead? That's some bold talk coming from you. Watching them bicker, Seo Yuna realized something. Jae-hyun didn't look dumb. He was actually low-key hot. Exactly her type. She shook her head, deleting that thought instantly. Survival comes first, simping comes later. After clearing the mobs outside, they retreated to the shelter. Jae-hyun immediately started playing chemist over a boiling pot. Seo Una watched intrigued. What's the plan? Brewing stamina buffs. Jae-hyun didn't look up as he stirred. Figured we'd need a boost, so I snagged the recipe from some old veteran I know. Kim Yoo-jung burst out laughing. You know a veteran. Please, I thought your friend list was empty. Jae-hyun shot back without missing a beat. Look who's talking. Like you've got a social life outside of me. So Una cut in, eyes wide with genuine admiration. Seriously though, Jae-hyun, you're insane. You don't vibe like a freshman at all. You carry yourself like someone with 10 years of combat experience. Kim Yoo-jung stood up, dusting herself off. Alright, enough yapping. If we're raiding tomorrow, we need to fuel up. The problem. Neither Jaehyun nor Yoojung could cook to save their lives. That's when Seo Una stepped up. I can handle the food. Let me take over. I live with my grandma, so I'm basically the head chef at home. As she spoke, Una tied her hair back, locking in for some culinary magic. Jaehyun didn't know much about her personal life, just the grandma detail. It screamed tragic backstory, parents likely out of the picture. In no time, Una whipped up a feast. One bite, and the squad was absolutely mind-blown by the flavor. Jaehyun admitted, I never thought we'd eat like kings in a dump like this. Yoojung was so hyped she tackled Una into a massive bear hug. Surrounded by friends and good food, Una felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in years. Meanwhile, in the central control room, the survival game meant for melee fighters had gone completely off script. Topping the leaderboards was Min Jae-hyun, a magic class student, leaving the instructors absolutely shook. Instructor Kim Sok-ji stared at the screen. Our top prospect, An Hae-yun, is sitting at 4th place. But what's actually breaking my brain is that 1st and 2nd place are both dominated by mages. Gu Ja-in was rattled. Until today, stats like this belonged exclusively to top-tier martial raiders. This situation defied all logic. 3 magic freshmen were smurfing the entire lobby, wiping out martial upperclassmen. He spun around to Kim Sok-yi. Roll the tape from the spore zone. I need to see that again. Watching the replay, Gu Ja-in was still in disbelief. Even under pressure, Jae-hyun showed zero hesitation, displaying judgment and combat mechanics that completely gapped the martial students. He didn't move like a mage. He moved like a seasoned veteran brawler. The craziest part, the kid is a freshman. But the system still hadn't updated Jae-hyun's full profile. Suddenly, Park Hae-jun burst in, clutching a stack of papers. Chairman, we dug up Min Jae-hyun's file. But I don't know if this data is legit. Gu Ja-in frowned. What do you mean legit? Stop stalling, and spit it out. What are we looking at? Instead of speaking, Park Hae-jun slid the file across the desk. See for yourself. Min Jae-hyun's magic compatibility rating is sitting at 97%. The second he saw that number, Gu Ja-in's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. A wave of excitement surged through him. This was the jackpot. I need to verify this myself, Gu Ja-in murmured, a grin forming. I need to see if this monster is the real deal. Instructor Kim Sok-gi asked nervously. Wait, are you planning to intervene in the exam personally? Gu Ja-in nodded sharply. Absolutely. I can't wait to meet this kid. Let's design a little boss battle for him, shall we? Meanwhile, Min Jae-hyun's squad was absolutely cooking with a score of 1.1 million points, basically locking down the throne. They owned the freshman leaderboard, especially since the upperclassmen had already bailed on the Nightmare Forest. But they couldn't just camp out in their shelter forever. If they wanted to run up the score, the grind had to continue. Kim Young stretched out, looking totally unbothered. Guess we don't have a choice. Gear up, guys. Then Ina dropped a bomb on them. The all-time freshman record is 1.14 million points. We're not just going to win, we're going to shatter history. Jaehyun was shook. He didn't know she had that competitive fire in her. Suddenly, his instincts screamed danger. Slash. A massive energy blade ripped through the air straight at him. That raw power was way beyond some weak C-tier skill. The subspace was glitching out completely, removing the safety limiters on skill levels. It was open season. Heads snapped instantly toward the source of the ambush, adrenaline spiking. Kim Young's voice trembled. Jaehyun, you good? We're all rookies here. Why is he beefing with us? Jaehyun stared down the attacker, his voice deadly quiet. Didn't think I'd see you again like this. An Hee-hun snapped out of it, but An Hee-hun gave zero reaction, staring blankly like an NPC. Seo Ina whispered. Lights are on, nobody's home. He's being puppeted. Jaehyun realized it instantly. This had Gu Ja-in's dirty fingerprints all over it. It was a total replay of the nightmare from the Millis Academy anniversary in his past life. Back then, when Gu Ja-in got caught embezzling funds, that psycho tried to dodge the law by mind-controlling students. It turned into a literal bloodbath. He caused a massive catastrophe to distract everyone. Then Gu Ja-in vanished into thin air, while countless students paid the price with their lives. That was the day Kim Young died in Jae-hyun's arms. As a friend, there was no way Jae-hyun could go all out against An Hee-hun. The mission wasn't to kill, it was to wake him up. Right on cue. The system flashed a notification. Quest rescue, the mind-controlled student. The loot, a legendary black card. Jae-hyun turned to his team, eyes blazing. I'm handling this solo. Get out of here. Run, now. While you're at it, maybe grind some extra points, Kim Yoo-jung asked, her voice shaking. Do you even realize who you're dealing with? That is An Ho-yun, the martial department's absolute prodigy. Trying to solo him, that is straight up suicide. Min Jae-hyun stopped and glanced back, his gaze steady and intense. You really think I'm gonna lose? Seeing the fire in his eyes, Ye-na didn't hesitate. Understood, she whispered. We're out. But Yoo-jung was spiraling. Yena, why are you enabling this death wish? Ugh, fine, I'm leaving. But the point grinding is on us. Got it. She hesitated then snapped, but, Jaehyun, don't you dare get wrecked. Wrap this up and find us immediately. Jaehyun flashed a faint smirk. Relax. I'll catch up. The scene cut to 24 hours earlier. An Ho-yeon had been on a solo rampage, clearing out upperclassmen purely on muscle. His score, a massive 600,000 points. He crunched the numbers. One more day, and this game is a wrap. But even after sweating buckets and giving it 100%, he still wasn't sitting on the throne. What really ground his gears was seeing the Magic Division, geeks hogging the top ranks. Even their teammates were scoring high. It was humiliating. Ho-yeon couldn't help but think back to his first run-in with Min Jae-hyun. He swallowed a bitter sigh. That guy is built different. I can't fold now. Not to a mage. Time's not up yet. Just gotta grind harder. Suddenly, a holographic screen popped up right in his face. Student An Ho-yeon, this is Chairman Gu Jae-in. Ho-yeon blinked, confused. Why are you contacting me? Jae-in didn't waste breath on small talk. He triggered his innate skill, brainwash. I have a job for you. A white-hot agony ripped through Ho-yeon's skull, his mind twisted, violently rewriting itself. The override was complete, clutching his head, eyes glazed and vacant. Why am I here? What was the mission? The static in his brain snapped into a single crystal-clear directive. I remember. Eliminate Min Jae-hyun. Back in the present. Ho-yeon launched himself at Jae-hyun. His movements were zombie-like but relentless, swinging his blade with lethal force. Jae-hyun sidestepped the slash effortlessly. He clocked the move instantly. That was Ho-yeon's A-rank signature martial apex. The attack whiffed, but Ho-yeon instantly closed the gap. Jae-hyun frowned. When they first met, this guy was just okay. Nothing to write home about. But now, his microcontrol, his timing, it was like fighting a different person. In a raw contest of strength, Jae-hyun was actually the underdog here. Using nothing but a shield, Ho-yeon bashed him, sending him launching into the air. Jae-hyun twisted his body mid-flight, barely diffusing the kinetic impact. The second his feet touched the dirt, he triggered wind step. His velocity spiked, leaving Ho-yeon in the dust. Using the burst, he ghosted behind Ho-yeon in a heartbeat. Electricity crackled in his hand. He prepared to end this farce with lightning chains. But Ho-yeon defied physics, retreating the split second. Jae-hyun struck. Before his eyes could even track Jae-hyun's position, his body moved on pure autopilot. That is the terrifying reflex of a born combat genius. Jae-hyun realized this wasn't going to be a walk in the park. Technically, absolute calculation could break the mind control. But the issue was, Gu Jae-in was definitely spectating from the control room, probably wearing that smug, punchable grin. Right then, An Ho-yeon managed to wake up the beast inside Jae-hyun. It wasn't just about winning anymore. He wanted Jae-in to feel it. Stalking forward, he closed in on Ho-yeon. Meanwhile, in the control room, Jang Yi-sol watched the feed jaw on the floor. Am I seeing things? A mage type throwing hands in close quarters against a martial type. And he's actually winning, and not just any opponent, it was An Ho-yeon, the melee prodigy. Yi-sol's brain refused to process the footage. She gripped her sleeve, knuckles white, completely shook. How? How is he pulling this off? A mage clapping a martial artist in melee, that's physically impossible. That rule was etched into her soul, from every raid she'd ever survived. But right now, the impossible was happening in 4K resolution. By now on, Ho-yeon was done, totally incapacitated. Jae-hyun looked down at him, voice flat. Didn't mean to go that hard, but you're a tank. You'll be back on your feet in no time. Now, time to deal with the real problem. Jae-hyun locked eyes with the hidden observers in the control booth. Then, chaos. The monitors exploded into a blinding white void. Instructors screamed, shielding their eyes from the glare. What the hell? We lost visual goo. Siren didn't wait. He ripped the remote straight out of a terrified instructor's grip. He mashed the buttons furiously, but the screen stayed dead. Static. Nothing. It's a blackout spell, Kim Sok-ji muttered, stunned. Shining world. Crack. The plastic remote shattered in Siren's fist. Clever little punk. Playing hardball, huh? Siren hissed. Listen up, Kim. The second this game wraps, drag Min Jae-hyun to my office. Kim blinked, caught off guard. Sir, we're deciding this already. Siren flashed a cold predator smile. Think about it, instructor. He didn't just win. He killed the feed to build suspense. He knows how to hike up his market price. Back on the field, Jae-hyun loomed over An Hyun. He triggered absolute calculation, shattering the mind control spell like glass. Head clear yet? Jae-hyun asked coolly. And Hyun tried to push himself up, but agony spiked through his nerves. His legs gave out, leaving him twitching in the dirt. My bad, Jae-hyun shrugged. You kinda came at me with intent to kill. And Hyun blinked, dazed. I attacked you. Why would I do that? Mental manipulation spell, Jae-hyun clarified. Memories flashed back, a creepy whispering voice in An Hyun's ear. Impossible, An Hyun stammered. That's A-rank magic. This dungeon caps everything at C-rank. Jaehyun looked grim. Either the system glitched or we've got a hacker, and Hyun wasn't letting it go. Why Jaehyun shook his head. No solid proof yet, but whoever pulled this off isn't someone you want to mess with. But deep down, Jaehyun had a pretty good guess. Eventually, Hyun would see the monster behind Gusiren's mask, gritting his teeth, and Hyun forced himself up, fighting the screaming pain in his muscles. And there stood Jaehyun, totally unbothered, like he hadn't just fought a war. The skill gap was humiliating, and Hyun's nails dug into his palms. "I'm sorry," he rasped. "For real." Jaehyun just turned away. "If you can walk, I'm bouncing. Use whatever time's left to recover." He started to walk, but whoosh, and Hyun threw an object through the air. Jaehyun caught it. The name tag. Jaehyun frowned. "Dude, what are you doing? Handing this over means instant elimination." "Keep it in," Hyun said firmly. "You outclassed me. I'm stacked on points anyway. I lost the duel. That trophy is yours. But don't get comfy. Next time I'm taking that back, and I won't hold back." Jaehyun stared at the tag. 10,000 points. Peanuts, really. But the meaning, priceless. He used to kill for validation from the martial arts elites. He used to be the weakling looking up. Now he just dominated a martial genius and earned his respect. The envy was gone, replaced by pure victory. For Jaehyun, this was the biggest high since he reincarnated. He finally felt it. He wasn't that broken victim anymore. He'd leveled up mentally and physically. Soon, the buzzer sounded. The freshman hunt was over. Jaehyun obliterated the record 1,530,000 points. Jungyeon side-eyed him, scoffing at his poker face. "Dude, you just made history. Crack a smile maybe." "I mean seriously." Suina, on the other hand, was fuming. One more hour, and we would have cracked 1.6 million. Jaehyun looked at them like they were crazy. "Why stress over the high score?" Ina giggled, shifting gears. "Whatever, the payout from this is gonna be sweet." "No joke," Jaehyun grinned. 10-to-1 exchange rate, we're talking real cash. That's roughly 15 million won in my pocket. Plus, with me at first and you two tied for second, we're getting that 1,000,000-point bonus. The math hit Jungyeon like a truck. She practically tackled Jaehyun in joy. While they celebrated, the other students watched green with envy. Suddenly, the crowd parted. A looming figure approached. "Eyes up. I'm Instructor Kim Seokji." The girl snapped to attention. Kim didn't waste time. "I need a word with you three. Private. Too many ears out here. Can we take this somewhere private?" Min Jae-hyun locked eyes with him. "What's the agenda here?" The freshman hunt scores right. Kim Seok-ji stood there mute, just giving a stiff nod. Jae-hyun didn't wait, brushing past him. "You could at least drop a pin on where we're headed," he tossed back effortlessly. "The chairman's office." "I nailed it, didn't I, instructor?" Without missing a beat, the trio trailed Kim Seok-ji straight to Gujiren's lair. Jae-hyun scanned the room unimpressed. "So where's the big boss? Calls a meeting and ghosts us?" Kim Seok-ji was boiling internally at Jae-hyun's sheer audacity, but bit his tongue. "Just take a seat. Wait here." Unlike the rebellious Jae-hyun, Jung Yu-young and Soo In-ah sat down like model students. Right on cue, Gujiren breezed in. "Apologies for the delay." The girls shot up instantly. "Hi, I'm Jung Yu-young, Magic Division freshman." "I'm Soo In-ah." Gujiren flashed a practiced smile. "I know exactly who you are." But Jae-hyun cut through the pleasantries. "You took your sweet time. I was about to pass out." The girls froze, completely shook. And even Kim Seok-ji looked like he'd seen a ghost. The room went dead silent. Gujiren choked back his rage. Forcing a gentle expression, he smoothed it over. "My bad. I needed to prep so we could talk business." Jae-hyun ignored the vibe check and fired back. "Nah, we should be sorry. We've been grinding for 3 days. In a subspace, 0 showers, and rushed straight here." Gujiren pivoted quickly. "That was a massive oversight on my end." After a few verbal jabs, Jae-hyun clocked it immediately. Jiren was folding. Desperate to hook this level of talent, the chairman kept his cool. "I've cooked up a pretty sweet deal for you. Excuse the stiffness. First off, major props to you three for dominating the hunt. Absolute elites, no question. Especially you, Jae-hyun. First place, you didn't just win. You obliterated the old record by an insane margin. Even I'm shook." Jae-hyun frowned. "Can we skip to the main event?" Jiren paused for effect. "Millen Academy wants to shower you with perks. Number 1. Free access to the luxury VIP dorm suites. Number 2. Any facility with a waitlist. You skip the line. Priority access. Number 3. If you ever tank a test, you get a get-out-of-jail-free card. 1. Re-examination. As the top 3 freshman hunt survivors, Jae-hyun's squad was getting the royal treatment. Penthouses, VIP passes, and even a cheat code for grades. Then Gujiren dropped the other shoe. Plus, you 3 can sign right here and become official partners of Millen Academy. Jae-hyun shut it down instantly. "Look, the perks are cool, but let's be real. With our skills, we'd unlock all that in a month anyway, right?" Millen's whole vibe is strength rules all. I don't get why we need to sign some extra contract when we're already paying tuition. So how about you let me read the fine print first, just like that. The shady Millen Academy partnership contract slid across the table. For 5 years post-signing active, Raiders must kick back 30% of their earnings to the Academy. Chairman Gu, this isn't a perk. This is a trap, plain and simple. Gu Jiren sighed, acting helpless. If that's your take, my hands are tied. It's not mandatory. Totally up to you guys. After hearing Jaehyun break it down, Yu Young and In Ah locked eyes. They immediately decided to hard pass on the signature. Gu Jiren dipped his head. Bummer. Truly a bummer. This is my best offer. Maybe you need to rethink it. I'll give you one last shot. Jaehyun, you still turning me down? Jiren had zero clue that Jaehyun was actually baiting him, waiting for the brainwashing attempt. Shielded by Hell's blessing, Jaehyun was immune to mind control. I made myself crystal clear. I'm not signing that trash. If we're done here, we're bouncing. 3 days of combat followed by an office meeting. We need real sleep, not this. And with that, the trio breezed past instructor Kim Suk-ji, leaving the tension thick in the air. Cold sweat was practically soaking through Kim Suk-ji's shirt. The silence in the office was suffocating, leaving just him and Chairman Gu Ziren alone in the room. Gu Ziren's face went pitch black, radiating pure menace. Instructor Kim, get out. Leave us, he muttered to himself. He's just a rookie freshman. Yet he shrugged off my innate ability like it was nothing. A twisted, obsessive grin formed. Min Jaehyun, now I want you even more. Meanwhile, outside the building, Jaehyun shot them a look. You guys seriously okay with this? You just rejected a direct offer from Gu Ziren. Kim Young shrugged. I mean, the money sounded sweet at first, but after listening to your logic, it was a total no-brainer. Yena nodded in agreement. That contract gave me bad vibes anyway. Walking away was definitely the power move. Getting handed a golden ticket on day one. That's not fair play. Real power isn't given. It's earned with your own blood and sweat. Jaehyun finally let out a breath he'd been holding. Glad to hear that. Honestly, I was praying you guys would say no. Kim Young leaned in, voice lowering to a whisper. But wasn't it creepy? The second we turned him down, his face looked like he wanted to murder someone. Yena shivered. I felt that shift too. Totally ominous. It's our very first event at the Academy, and it's already a disaster, but the staff acted like nothing happened. She turned to the protagonist, Min Jae-hyun. Do you have dirt on Chairman Gu or something? Jae-hyun froze in his tracks. He kept his face neutral. What makes you say that? Yena analyzed him. You're way too chill for a newbie, but the moment you stood in front of the chairman, you went full aggression mode. Jae-hyun hesitated, weighing his words. Look, I can't give you the full picture yet, mostly because I'm figuring it out myself. But I'll give you one piece of advice. Don't trust a single soul here. Not the chairman. Not the instructors. No one. Yena tilted her head. So, does that mean we shouldn't trust you either? Suddenly, Kim Young popped up behind Yena like a ghost. Boo. Exactly, don't trust this guy. Look at that resting villain face. Plus, he totally abandoned me in the middle of the street earlier. She dramatically grabbed at Jae-hyun. Do you know how emotional that damage was? They started goofing around, shoving each other playfully. Jae-hyun laughed, shoving Kim Young off. Okay, chill out. Let's head back. Yena lingered, sounding a bit disappointed. Guess this is where we split up, huh? Kim Young looked at the two of them, catching the awkward vibe instantly. He grinned. Whoa, what is this AK drama moment? Do I need to play the third wheel? Jae-hyun pushed his face away, exasperated. Girls left, guys right. Go sleep, you weirdo. Yena smiled softly. Alright, we'll get going then. You get some rest too, Jae-hyun. Big day tomorrow. See ya. Back in his dorm, reality hit. The air hung heavy with the smell of rotting mold, and the floorboards screamed under his weight. It was the same dump he lived in when everyone treated him like trash, a constant reminder of his days as a powerless loser. A bitter nostalgia he hadn't felt in ages. Fast forward to the next morning, students were already buzzing inside. The massive equipment hall. Listen up, Magic Division, I'm Kim Ji-eun. I'll be running your Mana Adaptation Fundamentals course. Jae-hyun scanned the woman on the podium, his brow furrowing. Instructor Kim Ji-eun. He searched his memories. I draw a complete blank. She wasn't in my past life. Maybe because I was stuck in the Martial Division back then, she flew under my radar. Or maybe she quit Milan Academy early on. Wouldn't blame her. Teaching at this hellhole is a nightmare gig. Something every awakener knows. Well, except for sellouts like Kim Suk-ji, who only stuck around because he was addicted to Gu Ziren's fat paychecks.